Hello, everybody. I know people are coming in. Everyone, welcome to the March meetup. Hope everyone's having a great March. We're 10 days into March, coming up on a year on the US side of the pandemic. Hope everyone's doing well and is healthy and is getting excited for their vaccines and otherwise just making the most of their time to get a lot of use of R or any other type of data science or whatever else you have to do in life. I know lots of people getting pulled in many directions. Hope everyone's doing well, and hopefully this meetup is a nice respite. You get to come and have some, good R fun. So we're going to get started in just a few moments. And we'll do our normal announcements. We'll have our speaker. And I wish we could all go to the bar afterwards, but I know that hopefully soon. Things are looking good in this country. Hopefully by the end of the year, hopefully even before around the fall, we'll be able to meet in person, both for the meetup and for the conferences. Maybe some workshops along the way. We'll see how the year goes, but it'll be great to see everybody again. And so everyone knows, once we do go back to in-person meetups, we will do our best to live stream it in this hybrid format so people around the world. Usually, we tried doing this a few years ago, but the audio never worked out. I think now after a year of doing remote stuff, we hopefully figured out the audio, and we'll be able to live stream right when it's happening in the future. And of course, you'll be able to see the recordings later, but the more people we can have join from around the world during the live sessions, the better. So I'll get started with just a few announcements. Jobs. If anyone's looking to hire, we obviously can't shout out jobs in this format, but you can go to the NYHackR Slack and go to the job posting channel and post a job there. Over the past roughly 12 years, I probably should have kept count of how many people have gotten jobs through this meetup, but it's actually kind of impossible. It's like, it's not just through my announcements. People meet each other and they get jobs. I'm sure I know for a fact we've gotten numerous people's jobs. I want to say 100 on my watch that I've paid attention to, probably more that it just happens without me noticing. So if you have a job, you're looking to hire, go to the job postings channel and announce it. If you're looking to get a job, go to the job postings channel and look for jobs. It's as easy as that. You'll find some good people. I know we can't do pizza together anymore. We have the pizza poll. We haven't updated the pizza poll in a year. That's really hurting me. We haven't gotten new data in a year. So tonight, my pizza comes from Joe's Pizza. I hope everyone has some good pizza you're going to be eating. I hope it's delicious wherever you're from. I see we have some people in Dublin, in India, in France, in Seattle. Hopefully you all folks got good pizza wherever you are. I know it's not New York pizza, but we'll do good. We have some New Yorkers there. Thoughts on Difara? Asme, thoughts on Difara? I love Difara. It could be hit or miss. Oh, well, let me say, when it's miss, it's good pizza. When it's hit, it's life-changing pizza. So I recommend it. It's worth the wait. I never had to wait more than like 45 minutes. And then sometimes I walk up and get my slice within 5 minutes. So it all depends on where you go. We have someone from Chile. Someone asking for a shiny app for the pizza poll. The data is freely available. If you go to jaredlander.com/data/pizzapoll.data.php, go to jaredlander.com/data, search for pizza. You'll find there's a live feed of the pizza poll data. So please make a shiny app of it. It was the subject of a Tidy Tuesday, I want to say last year at some point. So grab that data. It's on jaredlander.com/data and have at it. We have some people from London. We have people all over the place. 1 a.m. is too late for 1 a.m. is not too late for pizza. That's like prime pizza hours. So I highly recommend 1 a.m. getting pizza. That works for me. We have people from Canada. We have people all over the place. All right, I love this. It's good to see everybody. Garrick, people are loving your t-shirt, the RStudio Conf t-shirt. Those are always a classic. Yep. All right, cool. Northbridge, California. Boston, no pizza night, but you could go. There's in the North End. I know the North End can be touristy, but Pizzeria Regina in the North End is actually quite legit. I do enjoy that place. All right, so Chicago. I hope you're having some casserole for tonight. All right, we have some pizza and beer for somebody. Australia, so Australian pizza. It's that thick, nice, doughy thing, lots of toppings. All right, we're getting carried away in pizza. I'll keep going. But anyone, if you have good pizza, shout out to me. Let me know what you're eating. Let me enjoy it. Oh, Asme, best pizzas in New Haven. Are you asking for the best place in New Haven? Or are you saying the best is in New Haven? So I can tell you my favorites in New Haven, but I'm not going to tell us the best in the country. All right, we're getting carried away with pizza. Asme and I can duke that out on Twitter if we need to. All right, so since we can't be here in person, I'm loving the chat here in this window. Keep it up here in this window. If you want to chat, we also have the Slack channel. The Slack channel for chatting about meetups is called monthly meetup chat. I will put them here declaring. You and I are gonna have a little bit of a throwdown after the whole bagel incident too. As May said, the best bagels are Montreal, and they're good bagels in Montreal, but they're not New York bagels. So if people want to chat about the meetup or about pizza or about anything, go to the monthly meetup chat channel in Slack, and you can ask, and you can hang out and you can throw shade at each other all you want. For questions, since obviously we can't have a question and answer session like we normally do, ask your questions in that meetup channel I just pointed out, or here in the chat window, either one. I will collate them and I will ask the questions at the end, and hopefully we'll have some really good questions for Garrick to show him a good time here. So again, if you have questions, put it here in the Zoom chat, put it in the Slack chat, and I will collate them and put them all together. The video for this event will be posted in a few days where all the videos are. They're at nyhackr.org. I'll put that in here, nyhackr.org/presentations.html. We desperately need to redo this website. I designed it years ago before Blogdown existed. So it is Markdown. It's written in our Markdown, a multi-page Markdown site, but pre-Blogdown, and I designed it. So it is open source. It's on GitHub at github.com/nyhackr. If you want to make a change, make it better. We are currently working on redesigning it, but it takes us time. So if you have something better, let us know. We're happy to have someone redesign that because I designed it and it's just not pretty. Next month, May, we have an exact date. I don't know the exact date. I want to say May 17th. No, sorry, April. Oh my goodness, April. We have 2 months planned. April, I don't have the exact date, but middle of April, we have Klaus Wilke, and I hope I'm pronouncing his both names correctly, talking about using Rust from R. I'm super excited about that. That's going to be really cool. This is like sort of RCPP, but for Rust. So it's the new modern compiled language. Last month, we had Andy Grove talking about Ballista, which is written in Rust, and it just so happens that we have this nice Rust thing going on. Next month will be Klaus talking about Rust and R. So that will be really a lot of fun. May will be James Lamb talking about LightGBM. For those of you that don't know, LightGBM is a boosted tree algorithm. It is a competitor of XGBoost and of CatBoost. It's really exciting. Depending on whose benchmarks you look at, it's faster or more accurate, but again, benchmarks are benchmarks. So that'll be in May. And the nice thing about LightGBM, it also works on the GPU. So that's really cool. Also, so does XGBoost and CatBoost. They all work on the GPU. So that's it's a really nice touch to be able to do that. And even with tidy models, Max and Julia's and Davis's package, and I know there are other contributors, that can work on the GPU too. It's really, really cool. So April, we have Klaus. May, we have James. All right. So someone asked about videos. All the videos get posted to nyhackr.org. Speaking of needing a new website, there's a bug on that website that in order to see the link to the videos, you need to zoom out and back in. So that's not awesome. So someone please help me do a pull request. In the meantime, if you can't use this poorly built website, just Google YouTube Lander Analytics. We post all the videos up there. That might be easier for you. The meetup videos are there, as are all the conference videos. You have 6 years of NYR, 3 years of RDC and RGov, lots of videos up there, and about 8 years worth of NYHackR. Tons of videos, really good source. All right. With all of that, I think I covered everything. We have pizza, we have jobs, we have the next meetups, we have the chat windows, we have questions. I think we have everything. So with that, I am very excited to bring in our speaker. Many people here have been using Markdown for different ways for presentations. I've been going through a whole sorts of different formats and presentations, whether that was IO slides or Slidify or I think Remark or one of the other ones. I forget what it is even at this point. I've gone through so many. But now we have xaringan. And that seems to be stolen all the hearts of all the people who are using it now. And we have someone who's contributed so much to the xaringan ecosystem. Please, everyone, give a warm virtual welcome to Garrick. And I'll clap for everybody since they can't be clapping for you.
Thank you very much. All right, should I dive in?
Yes, please do.
All right, so I'm going to share my slides. Well, first of all, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much, Jared, and the New York Open Statistical Programming Meetup for having me. It's a pleasure to get to talk about something that I really love, which is making great slides, making extra great slides with xaringan. So this is an actual xaringan presentation, by the way. So a little bit about me. My name is Garrick Aden-Buie. You can find me online at Twitter at Garrick or online at garrickadenbuie.com. And I work for our studio's education team. I primarily work on packages called Grade This and LearnR, which help teach R using R Markdown and interactive tutorials. In my spare time, I do a lot of work tinkering with xaringan slides and building extras and little things for them. And also, I have a couple other packages that I work on that you might be interested in or have heard of, like themes for our studio, an add-in for our studio that helps you work with regular expressions, and an app that helps you extend our studio called Shortcuts. So definitely, check those out if you want, if you use our studio. So I have the material online for all of this. You can try it yourself again later. I'm going to copy this link and put it into the chat. But I'm also going to do a lot of sort of live coding today. So the idea here is like maybe you can go back to this and reference it later. You can just sort of pay attention and watch what I'm doing. But also if you want to have like a whole environment that's ready to go that has all of the RStudio stuff that you need, I built a little Docker container, and you could use that to just get started and drop right into an environment if Docker is your thing or if you like Docker. So let's talk about xaringan. So I realized, like, I want to talk about some cool things that I built for xaringan, but I think first maybe we should just talk about what xaringan is. Right, so let's have a little bit of a crash course. First of all, xaringan, which is pronounced xaringan. I don't totally know. I have settled on xaringan, and it's okay. I think everyone has a slightly different way of pronouncing it. I'm also kind of like, so xaringan comes from, okay, I don't want to offend anybody. It's a cartoon that has an anime thing that I have barely any awareness of. But like a lot of the things in the xaringan package are like callbacks to the show that involve xaringan. So that's a little backstory, but at the same time, everybody has no idea. So it's totally fine. Just lean into however you've been pronouncing it. So how do you get xaringan? You basically just install it from CRAN like any other R package, install that package's xaringan. Cool. And now you have the power of xaringan to make slides. So I think the one thing that xaringan does slightly different than basically any other kind of R Markdown, the one way that xaringan kind of like doesn't quite fit in with the rest of the R Markdown ecosystem is sort of the pathway that it follows. So a typical R Markdown document that you're trying to convert into HTML starts as R Markdown, uses the knitter package to turn it into Markdown, and then Pandoc behind the scenes will turn that Markdown into HTML. And all of this is sort of like controlled by the R Markdown package, and all just sort of happens for you. xaringan does something slightly different, and it cuts out Pandoc. And instead, basically you take your slides, it turns into R Markdown, and then they become an HTML web page, but there's like the final step of going from Markdown to HTML happens actually in the browser. And this has a slight implication that sometimes certain things that you would do in regular R Markdown just don't work. Or there are extra things that are added in xaringan that also don't work in regular R Markdown when you're using Pandoc. So I just want to say this like up front, like when you're learning xaringan, you are going to end up learning a little bit of a different syntax. And we're going to talk about that today too. So the first thing is basically, let's talk about what a presentation would look like with xaringan. So I have an RStudio window open over here. Hopefully this font and colors and sizes are okay for everybody to see this during the presentation. If not, just give me a bump it up or something like that in the chat. So here we have some slides. This YAML header looks pretty familiar. It looks a little bit like the YAML header that you would have for a regular R Markdown document. It has a title, a subtitle, author, institute, date, and then we have this output. And this output format is specific to xaringan, and that's what actually makes the HTML file that turns into your slides. Okay, So, and then in here, you're gonna write things that become slides. And I'm gonna switch back to the slides to talk about that part. So how do you make an actual slide? One slide, just one slide. The first thing is you're going to have 3 dashes, just 3 dashes, no more than 3 dashes. That's it, just 3 dashes. 3 dashes on a line, that makes a new slide. That's how you define a slide break, right? There's some, so this sort of looks like YAML again, but this is like slide specific information or sort of metadata, like this changes how the slide looks. This changes how the slide looks or the settings of the slide. Then you have some slide content. So some stuff that you're going to put in the slide, and this is written in R Markdown. And then you can also have sort of continuation. So a really common thing that you would do is have like show part of a slide and then like sort of pause and then fill in the next point of the list and the next point of the list. And to do that, you're going to use 2 dashes, only 2 dashes on a line. And that creates a sort of small pause. And here's a slide. So I'm going to switch back again to RStudio and show you what this looks like, how you would actually write this out, because it's pretty interesting. So xaringan comes with a cool RStudio add-in. I have this, this file, by the way, is demo intro. And if I go to, so I'm going to save it because I somehow changed it. But if I go to add-ins and I'm going to type xaringan, and there's an add-in called Infinite Moon Reader. So what this add-in will do is it will render your slides. So first of all, it renders your slides. And then the second thing that it does is it will, in real time, update your slides while you are typing, okay? So let's try this out. I'm gonna recreate that slide that I had before. So I'm gonna say knock, knock, right? And then maybe I'll add another who's there. And you can see that down here in the preview, my slides are updating in real time. So this makes kind of developing your slides with xaringan really fun and kind of exciting. If I make a new slide, so if I make a new slide and I say, hello over here, you can see my slide stopped updating, and that's because I have a new slide now. So to sync everything up, I have to actually save this file. And when I do, there's a small render step, and now I can jump around. You can even like move your cursor between slides and jump between those slides. I can also add, I'll do 2 dashes here to add a slide pause and say banana. And I get something like this. So you can kind of see what you're doing as you're going. Just keeping in mind that every time you add a new slide or a pause, then you're gonna have to save your file so that you get a full re-render. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that would go into the slide properties. So first of all, you can have a class sort of key that you would put. So this class is named because it's actually like the HTML class that the slide will get. So later on, if you start messing with xaringan slides, you start writing CSS, you can, that's the link, is that you're going to write a class that covers your slide. So, but there are some that xaringan comes with sort of built in and that you can use right away. So the most sort of important ones are about position of the text on the slide. So you can choose if so the default is to have left, and that would be the kind of basics. Whenever you change the slide properties, you have to save and do a full re-render again. So you can have your text on the left. I can move my text to the right, or I can put it in the center. I can also choose whether or not it's going to be at the top, which it already is. I could put it in the middle, and I'm saving, and then I could put it at the bottom. So if you want your text to be in a certain position, let's say for this, I'll actually put it in the middle, and the order doesn't matter, middle right. And I think you can even put commas in here and it will still be fine. You get the same answer. So, top, middle, top, middle, bottom, and left, center, right. These are the ways you control the position of all of the text on the slide. So everything that you add, if I go to the next, this continuation, you can see the banana is also on the middle right of the slide. So that's pretty cool. We've moved our text around. The next thing is you can choose a background for your slide. So let's say the first thing we'll cover is background image. So to use background image, you actually just type background-image, and you're going to say URL. And I have a file here called banana.jpg. And just once I save this, and there's a re-render, and now I have a background with a banana. It's hard to tell though, because like there's a little shadow right here. Like I know that there's my thing changed. And by the way, let me show you in the files where this is all located. So inside of my project, this file here is inside of demo, and then inside of demo, I've got banana, and then I have this file demo intro. So my slides are right next to this file this image that I'm putting in here. This is another thing about xaringan is you can't necessarily have your files like all over the place. Like I can reference files that are relative to the current, that are in the directory of the current slides, but I can't go find a random file from somewhere else on my computer. So you kind of have to organize everything into one folder, which is probably a good idea anyway, right? Okay, so let's switch back and come back here to our slide. Another property that we can use is background size. So this is going to control how big the background is. I'll say background size, and I don't know, 160 pixels by 160 pixels. We'll just try that. Oh, there we go. We have a little tiny banana now. So this is like, if I always forget which one this is, if this is like width, let's find out. I'll make this 400. So that's the width, and this is the height, but really just play with it until you get the right size. So, I mean, that's one way of doing this. I could also go look and figure out how big my image is and kind of get the sizing right, but maybe 400 by 600 gives me close enough. Yeah, my bananas don't look so great. But what if I want to have it be like the whole background of the slide? There are two options here. Contain is one of them. So my slide will contain the image. So it basically makes the image as big as possible until it's like out of the slide. Then it stops. So my image is now as big as the background image is as big as the slide. Or I can choose cover, and now I am covering the entire slide. And if you're familiar with CSS, you'll notice these are actually, this is a CSS property, and the values that I'm choosing here are CSS property values. So you can actually go to MDN, for example, the Mozilla Web Docs. I love this page for learning things about CSS, and I could type in background image, or we could try background size, and you can click on this, and you can see here these are the options that you could use in this background size business, right? And the last part then is also background position, which is also a CSS property, right? So I can choose exactly how the image is positioned. And let's say I kind of figure out 400 pixels by 800 pixels. This is a great way to get an image in like just the right spot. That is nowhere close to the right. Let's try 500. That's maybe a little bit better. I need wider, is my problem. 800 by 500, there we go. Okay, this will work. And now I can try background position. And here you can, again, use things like top left, and my background will move up to the top corner, or bottom right. And you can see these actually kind of feel a little bit like the same classes that we were learning about before in terms of moving the text around. But very often, honestly, I just do cover. Sorry, I do cover to make sure the whole slide is covered, and that's usually a pretty great way to go. And those are pretty much the great images that you can use for. I definitely want to recommend this website, which is where I got this image. It's called Unsplash. So Unsplash has a lot of awesome images that you could use. I think if I search for banana, you'll eventually find something that looks very banana-y. And let's pick out. So let me show you a little trick here. If you copy this, you go to Unsplash, you find yourself an ID or photo you like. You're going to copy that this little ID here at the end, and then in this URL, I'm going to say https source unsplash.com, and I'll put a And then at the very end, I'll put this ID. And when I save it, maybe it works. Usually it works. It's not working right now, is it? And I have an extra, there is an extra T, yes, thank you. And now it'll work. Like sometimes you have to actually like go to the thing. So this is the fun part about live coding, is that this always happens. Okay, we're gonna move on. There's a little trick there though that you can get yourself. I think maybe if I just go to source.unsplash.com. Man, I use this all the time. I'm not sure why this is not happening right now, but we're gonna back out. Oh, there it is. So we're gonna back out of this. Okay. Anyway, try that at home and see if you can get it to work, and then tweet me about how you figured it out. And I'll go back to my banana.jpg. Stick with the files that are right here on my computer. Very cool. All right, so that's kind of the anatomy of a slide. This is basically how you build up a slide, except we need to learn a little bit more about what goes inside. I'm gonna skip that layout part, but these continuations are nice because you can build up something that you wanna talk about and show it off just one little bit at a time. So let's talk about what you're actually gonna type inside of the slide. It's Markdown, and it's pretty much like regular R Markdown or Markdown that you're used to if you've been using R. So this is a real quick little demo. Markdown is awesome because it lets you get to like HTML stuff that looks great. It's nicely formatted, and then on the other hand, you can actually just sort of type it out in a way that like makes sense if you're reading the actual code, but you don't have to like go through the whole process of like remembering which tag it is that makes something, you know, inline code or emphasized or bold, you know, that kind of stuff. And also you can have it be rendered out into like a whole bunch of different formats. So in this case, we have this sentence here: the fuzzy bunny ran the foo-foo function and promptly disappeared. Fuzzy's italics. We have fuzzy here in italics because we put underscores around it. We have foo-foo looks like code on this side and the output because we put backticks around it. And then disappeared looks bold over here because we wrapped it in asterisks on either side. So you can also make lists. So you can write a list like this in your Markdown. You just put a dash in the thing and then you put a new line and make yourself a list, which can also be numbered. And the really fun part is you don't even have to count. Our Markdown will let you, or Markdown will let you just put one. And as long as it's a number, you get a nice numbered list. You can, if you add, by the way, if you add little spaces between those lists, you can end up with a list that has a little bit more room to breathe. So if you need to make your audience squint or want them to lean forward to see what you've written, you can use this compact version, or you can spread everything out and let it breathe a little bit. You can make links. Links are great, a great way to send people to go do other things. And what's actually really nice in xaringan, it will actually open the link in a new window for you so that your slides stay right here. And a link, to make a link, you put the part that you want to be clickable goes inside of 2 square brackets, like that, inside of 2 square brackets. And then the link where you're going to end up goes inside of parentheses after the square brackets. Also, I end up using like HTML things in Markdown a lot. So this is like a very cryptic way of saying this is cool. Okay, you can also add images. Images basically are just like links, except they link to an image. And there's one little bit, other bit that you have to put and an exclamation point in front of it. So you say exclamation point, square brackets, and then the image that you want to go to. And you get to like put GIFs. GIFs are great. They work really well for your slides. Just don't leave them up for too long so that everyone's like, okay, we've seen this and now we're distracted by it and I can't stop watching this kid run into the wall. This is yeah, definitely me. Okay, so that was like super fast way of going through our Markdown. If you want to learn our Markdown in like 15 minutes, this tutorial is amazing. commonmark.org/help/tutorial. So I will copy that link and share it. And I think probably people are starting to notice that there's some extra little bits going on in my slides right now, like those little arrows. So we are going to get to that, and we'll talk about how you can get those things in your slides too. There's one more really big concept to learn about xaringan, and that is the extra little bit that xaringan adds, or that remark adds. So technically, remark is the library behind the scenes that does all of the take your mark down and turn it into actual HTML slides. So there's one little bit that we have to learn about, and that is how you make things like this. So when you first start using xaringan, it feels a little bit like magic. You don't really know where they came from, but you just learn these sort of incantations and you figure out what to do. So right now I have content on the left side of my slide and I have an image on the right side. Okay, pretty cool. Let me show you how we did this. So remark and xaringan give you this kind of syntax. You say dot, and then you follow it by some words. In this case, the special words are pull dash left, and then an open bracket. And so this has a sort of markdown-y feel, right? But then this is the content, and it's also markdown that gets turned into like pretty HTML. But you write our markdown, or yeah, markdown inside of these brackets. And then there's also this other one, pull right. And if you put square brackets around something, here's an image to the book cover, and I'll switch back. And this is how you end up with content on the right, pulled to the left, and then pulled to the right. And that's something that comes with remark by default. It's just you get it and you get to use it right away, or be confused by it right away. So like you can behind the scenes, what happens is so your R markdown gets turned into HTML. So like you have paragraphs, and here's this list that I created. But around all of that, by putting the dot bracket, and then around this whole chunk of content, I now have a div, or so like an HTML container that has the class pull left. So this pull left basically just wraps everything inside of it in a container inside of a div called pull left. And then pull right does the same thing. And then the browser is the part where it gets laid out and put next to each other. This is what I really like about xaringan and remark, is that there's definitely a bit of a learning curve. You're going to like learn CSS and HTML a little bit. But on the other hand, xaringan writes like very nice and clean HTML that is pretty easy to use and pretty easy to customize. So it actually makes it kind of fun, and you're not like, hopefully you're not like super fighting your tools the whole time. So there's another way that you can do this. So I just showed you a way that makes a whole block, but there's a way that you can make just one little word or one section of words special. And so you might end up with something like this. Like this word is purple. I mean, the word is purple, not the word purple is purple, but the word is purple. So you can make that word purple by putting dot purple square brackets around word. So this is like literally what you would write in your slides. And I mean, you could have written this, by the way, so it actually turns into like span around the word and turns into actual HTML. But it's nice to be able to just write dot purple and then the thing. So let's jump back to our slides. I'm going to stop the last one. I'm going to start a new. So I'm going to do. Have you guys seen this? The new command palette in RStudio. So I'm going to actually type infinite moon reader and start up a new one here. And I'm going to actually, let's see. I'm going to type out. Okay, so I'm going to start with the tail of the Flopsy bunnies. Right, so here we have the tail of the Flopsy bunnies. I'm going to give this I'm going to put this in a special container called title. So now the tail of Flopsy bunnies is in a special container called title. And I'm going to put this in a special container purple, which looks a lot like what we were doing before. Okay, now nothing has changed, right? So what we need to do is we actually need to write some CSS at this point to make this customized the way that we want it. And this is like, I think this is one of the coolest things you can do with xaringan, that kind of makes it sort of fun. So I can actually write a little bit of HTML. So when you're writing CSS styles, they go inside of style tags, and then I can actually put some CSS in here. So I can do something like, say, title.title. So this .title is going to match this .title, and I'll put braces, open braces, and then you get to pick CSS properties that you want to change. So, for example, font size, I can make it. Let's see, there are these units in CSS called M's, and it's basically like 100%, and then 2 M's is like 200%, and 3 M's is like 300%. So let's see this in action. So 2 M's is 200%, 3 M's is 300%, 4. So if you write it like this, where you put it inside of style tags, you can actually update the CSS live, and you can see what is going on with your styles as you're writing them. Cool. So I can also say font style italic, for example. Now I have an italic title. And what if I want to color purple? So I'll do this again, right? I make a dot purple. This is going to this dot purple, matches this dot purple. And now I'm just going to color this pink. No, not pink. Orange or red. Maybe we make this 6M. Okay, we'll make it actually purple so that our brains don't explode. So there we go. Okay, so this is pretty cool. That was kind of fun. This is a good way to sort of practice your CSS and your HTML and kind of figure out what you're doing with those. But you probably don't want to be writing so realistically, you probably don't want to be writing a whole ton of CSS and HTML kind of stuff. Probably what you want to do is just pick a few colors, make those colors the colors of your slide, and then just move on with your life, right? So I'm very excited to share with you that I have a package for you to do just this. It's called xaringanthemer, and you can also pronounce that however you want. And you get it by, it's on Crayon, so you can install it from Crayon. And basically, you're just going to take this little chunk and drop it into your slides, RMD, and you can, and then you have to do one little update to your YAML front matter. But hang on, that's only if you already have slides that exist. But you can actually start from scratch. So I'm going to do under here, our markdown, so new file, our markdown. I'm going to go from template and scroll through this list here, and I'll find my, so it's hard to see that, but I'm selecting Ninja themed presentation. I'll click OK, and now you have a brand new slide presentation ready to go. So maybe before we do that, let me just show you real quick. So the default for all of these things, slides, Zifre, so here's the default presentation style, which looks fine. It looks great. It's a good starting point. It's okay. There's Carl. There he is again. Okay, so we get a feel for what it looks like, right? So when you open up the new themed Ninja presentation, I'm going to clean this up, and we're going to just run. I'm going to knit this, but I'm going to actually need to make a new file name. Let's see, xaringanthemer. And when it runs, I end up, in just a second, this one takes a little bit longer for one reason. Okay, so I end up with, let me show you the part. So I end up with a new presentation, and it looks considerably different. I've picked different fonts for the headers and for the body text. And this slide deck is actually designed to help you pick out your colors pretty quickly and kind of walk through a bunch of different things that you would normally put into slides and would see. So let's just show you how easy this is. I'm going to go to coolers. So there's this. I love this page. So I'm just going to click on generate. Up here, we'll make ourselves a brand new palette. I don't need to be walked through the whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to pick this color. I don't know. No, I don't like it. I'm going to hit spacebar. Let's find some new colors that look somewhere, something random. Okay, so I like this blue. I'm gonna copy this and I'll come over here and make that my primary color. So there are a whole bunch of different styles that you can use. You can just start typing, once you've run library xaringanthemer, you can just do style and which I need to actually run that real quick. And then you can do style and see all of the different styles that you can use. But I'm gonna use this one called Duo Accent. And I'm gonna drop that style right here. Let me pick a secondary color. This Congo pink looks good. And I'll make that my secondary color. And yeah, okay. So let's reknit this. And I will have in just a second a brand new presentation with totally different colors. So yeah, okay, there's our secondary color. It was a little bit of a different blue, or primary color is a little bit different blue. Here's the pink that we chose. Let's actually like flip this around to secondary and primary. Do this one more time. But this is a really great way that you can kind of like get a whole Xaringan theme all at once and kind of start from somewhere great, right? One more thing I wanted to show you while we're here is it also will automatically find, so here's a ggplot, and this package also gives you a theme for ggplot that will find what you have in your, the styles that you're using for your slides and give you a plot that matches exactly. So it matches the fonts and things like that. And the colors of the headers and things. There's a lot more this package can do. We don't have enough time to get into all of it, but I highly recommend that you check this out. It's a lot more fun than writing CSS if you're just starting out, but I actually really like writing CSS. So I know that I'm a little bit of a weirdo on that. So let's jump ahead again. So here we go. Here's the next little bit. How do you get these like extra cool fun things into your Xaringan slides? So a longish time ago, I started with making this this little add-in that was supposed to help teachers. It's a little tiny countdown timer, and so like you put this up and say, okay, everybody, you've got 3 minutes to go work on this thing, and then eventually it counts down and keeps everybody on track. And I had a lot of fun building this, and then I started to realize like, hey, there's like really cool things you can do with Xaringan slides, and it just sort of snowballed from there. So to get xaringanExtra, this package doesn't exist on Crayon. It's on GitHub, so you have to use install GitHub to get it. It's at Aden-Buie/xaringanExtra. And the basic idea is there's sort of a kitchen sink, use xaringanExtra, and then you get like a curated list of the stuff that you probably want for everything. Or you can individually piecewise pick out the add-ins and extras that you want, and then you just make money, profit. So let me show you these really quick. We'll just walk through them really quick. Hopefully the documentation can guide you through how to actually get them into your slides. So the first one is tile view or overview. So this one, when you add it to your slides and press O, it gives you an overview of all of your slides. This is super helpful when you're writing. It's super helpful when you're talking and you realize like, hey, I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit. You can look around and see, okay, this is the one I want, right? So tile view. Next is editable. So I'm gonna actually open this up. Editable is a really fun way if you're like teaching live. This is good if you're talking to a class or brainstorming. This is another great thing. So it actually gives you, it makes sections of your slide editable. Now, like the editing like lives in the browser and it will stay there if I come back to this slide, but it won't like show up for somebody else. And you can also, there's a way you can clear it. So you can actually like type this out, things that I like, pizza, and things I don't like, when my favorite pizza places close. That's a very, very sad face for that one, right? Awesome. So editable is really cool. Next up, panel set. Panel set is a really fun way of getting more into your slides. So people use, like, we end up using this a lot for things where you have some R code. Maybe this R code creates a plot. I don't want to like create a whole second slide for this. Like you could skip over this if you wanted to, but like we could also just sit here and focus on it. And maybe I want to switch back and forth between the two. So it gives you a way to do that. So these are like, it's sort of like tabs in, or the tab set in regular R Markdown. And in fact, Panel set actually does work in general R Markdown, and you can actually use it in places like Blogdown and other things where tab set isn't already there. Oh, wait, also one really cool thing about this is if it's inside of a xaringan slide, it hijacks the left and the right arrow. So if you come into a slide with panel set, when you press the right arrow, it will walk through the panels instead of the slides. So you can use that as a way to go through the slides. And then it almost feels like they're just like extra slides for free. Like, how cool is this? Okay, xaringan, share again for xaringan. So you'll occasionally want to share your xaringan slides. And this gives you a way to, on the one hand, there's a function that helps you embed the slide somewhere in an iframe. So put this on your website, for example. And on the other hand, you include it in your slide deck, and then you end up, it gives you this little bar, which only shows up if the slide deck is embedded in another page. And this gives you a way to walk through slides, going like forward and backwards. There's sharing control, so you can click this little button and then people can share it on, you know, Reddit or something. I don't know. But this is kind of nice, because if you just encounter a random iframe with slides, it can be hard to tell, like, what am I supposed to do with this? Am I supposed to click it? I don't know. So that's neat. Here's another one, search. I just added this last week, maybe the week before, but it gives you a way, you press Control F, and you can see this opened up the search bar down here, and I can type things, and as you type them, it searches your slides for those things that you were typing. And maybe I look for a document, and it kind of moves through the slides. So to get this into your slides, you just have to use this little function. You drop that into your slides. Pretty cool. And then this one I just added this week with some really big help from Matt Warkentin, who did a lot of work on this to make this happen. But you can actually draw on your slides now too. So this is called Scribble. You click this little button, and you can draw on your slides. So, and then those drawings stay there when you come back to them later. Well, at least just while you have the slides open. And then let me show you, so you can also, webcam is another one, you can get your webcam into your slides. For just one last thing to show you, there's some extra things that help you build slides. So there's an extension called tachyons, and that brings in tachyons, which is like a whole collection of these utility classes. And if you have tachyons in your, it makes it easy to sort of, like, you don't have to write a bunch of CSS. You can just sort of like compose things. Of course, you have this like really weird thing that you have to learn. So it has this like kind of syntax where for like width 50, you would just use a class of W50, and then now I made that like width of 50. Maybe I'll make it width 70, and I can make it gray by typing mid gray, and I can make it like Avenir font by typing .Avenir, and I can make it let's see, a little bit bigger and a little bit more spread out, and I'll make it a little bit bigger, and I'll put a little padding on the right, and then now I have this little bit down here that I want to move around, so I'll make that like width of 30. Sounds good, right? I'll move this up. And what if I wanted this to be absolutely positioned on the right bottom? There we go. And I want to make this part, I want to put that on the right. There we go. I'll put the text to the right. I'll make it italic and gray. And now I've just thrown together a pretty cool slide that looks almost perfect, except I want this to be bold. And maybe I want it to be also blue, so that there we go. This is a perfect slide. So I have a whole bunch of resources and things and links inside of my slides and inside of that web page that I shared, and would be happy, to interact with anyone on Twitter or talk to anyone about all of this. And thank you for letting me show you far too many things in such a short period of time.
Thank you very much. I think that was a awesome, fast tour de force. I will give you a virtual clap, because I know other people here, I'm sure they're applauding based on what they're saying here. Let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of great questions. A lot of people just saying awesome, wow. So thank you very much about that. Thank you, audience, for liking so much, but thank you, Garrick, for that amazing presentation.
Thank you.
So I'm going to dive into the questions. Do you have more to show, or is that everything you had?
No, there's more. There's so much more. It's a little bit ridiculous. Yeah. So the xaringanExtra page has a whole list. Here are all of the extensions that I've added. I just made one today while putting those slides together. So there's always new stuff coming in here.
That's great. I know I've made good use of your packages. When I made the switch to Xaringan, my second time I switched to Xaringan, I use a lot of your packages. So let me dive into all of these questions we have. So there's a lot coming at you. So the first one is, let me just move this over here. Is there something that we can edit in the slide class area that will modify the size of the code in the slides, like make it smaller? I think you did answer this question through your things, but I'll let you have at it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we might as well, let me make something really quick. So like sometimes you have R code, right? And quick, what's your favorite function that does something but not too much? R unit. All right, so here I've got, okay, I've got this. So this is I'm glad you asked because I love showing this off. So don't look at your slides in the viewer, click the show a new window. And now you have it open in your browser. And now you can click inspect element. So I right clicked on that little thing and I'm gonna make this so that it's easier to see. Okay, so I right clicked on this code here and I clicked inspect element and it automatically pops up right here. So you can start to see, this is like the CSS that's being applied. And this remark code line, I can try here something random like font size 1.5. And you can see, you can mess with the font size right there. And this is a great way to tinker. And eventually you would go, okay, I need to put this somewhere. So I'm going to copy this rule. I'm going to go back to my slides. I'm going to make a CSS chunk. So I'm going to do 3 backticks. Instead of saying R, I'll say CSS. And I don't want to see it, so I'll say echo equals false. And I'm just going to paste that thing right there. And hit save. And well, I mean, it should have, I don't know why it didn't update, but that generally works.
So I'm gonna follow that one up. Can you do that just for one slide?
Yeah, no, and yes. So you can't do it for just one slide. By what I just did, you have to do a little bit of extra work. So make big code. So I'm gonna give my slide a particular class, like big code. I don't like this make when I say actually just big code, right? And then big code class. So the big code class, and then anywhere underneath the big code class remark code line, I'll save this. And it's because I have it open over here. But now if I come in here and click inspect element again, you can see this rule is now being applied. So you could do that. So basically you do that for a slide by creating a class for the slide and then having it sort of inherit from that.
Great. All right, thank you. Then we will continue on our journey of questions. Can you source other code files in a Xaringan presentation?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So it's still R Markdown, so you can do all that kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
And some of these are going to be random. I'll try to punch them together as much as I can in a thematic way, but some are random. Why are you running RStudio Server locally?
I'm running it locally so that I can show you RStudio and switch between my browser, and I don't have to like open a whole new Zoom sharing business. I always get lost when it happens. So plus I made a little Docker container that just has this and nothing else. So I know what I'm showing you works, at least right now.
Always a good thing to have Docker going.
Yeah.
Let me make sure I'm getting this right. Can Markdown translate? Does Remark.js translate Markdown image of size? Can you specify the size of an image in a slide?
Yes-ish. I'm not sure. You know what I end up doing is I do something like this. Like I put a container around the image, or you eventually, and when you're using our Markdown or xaringan, you'll eventually want to do something like actually use an image and say GUI and JPEG, and actually use an image tag where you can put classes and say width equals 50%. A little bit easier. Yeah, but I don't know. That's probably one of the that feels like a Pandoc thing.
Yeah, and Pandoc doesn't let you do that typically, but I often use I make a chunk and then use knitr include graphics, and that gives you a lot of control.
Yeah, I don't know if that works either. Yeah, that's one of those things that might just not quite work out.
All right, well, that's always a way to experiment. All right, let me go back to the top here. All right, I'm missing, hold on. And I've lost a whole bunch of the questions. That's okay, because I have a lot and I'll fix it. When you're showing xaringan theme, is there a way to set the default ggplot theme to use that theme?
Yes, but it's really just a ggplot way of doing that. So I think it's set theme, and then you give it the xaringan themer theme. Yeah, so it's kind of the sort of normal way that you would set that. So there's a whole section on the ggplot2 themes on the package website, and somewhere in here. It is a little bit interesting because you do need to use the show text package. And at some point, so I wrote this, and then like maybe a couple weeks later, thematic hit the streets, and I was like, oh man, why did I spend so much time doing this? And at some point, I'm going to rewrite all of this to use thematic, because thematic is just amazing.
Can you tell me a little bit about thematic? Not everyone here is going to know about that. I know it came out, it's styled, but let people know.
Yeah, so thematic is kind of a nice way that you can make ggplot themes. So it does this kind of thing where, in this case, I picked up, I made a plot that picks up what styles you're using in your xaringan slides. But thematic does that for basically any kind of R Markdown document, or for basically any Shiny app too. So or even you can even use it for picking up your styles that you use for your theme in RStudio. And then get a really nice ggplot that looks awesome, uses the same fonts, uses the same colors, matches perfectly, and it takes like one line, which also is the same thing theme xaringan does, but theme xaringan is basically just in xaringan slides.
Got it. Perfect. So we're gonna have to have, who wrote thematic? We're gonna have to have a talk about it.
Yes, yeah, Carson's awesome. Carson Sievert is leading that one.
All right, Carson's gonna have to give a talk here then. All right, we'll make that happen. Yeah. All right. Question: how do you continue a list number from the previous slide? You had like numbers, I guess 1, 2, 3, 4. How do you have 5 on the next slide?
I think if you start it should work if you start the list with the number that you want to start with. That's the one it picks up. So the first one matters. The rest of them just need to be numbers.
So there's no way to automatically go from like 4 to 5. You need to know it ends at 4.
Yeah, yeah. At some point, you got to do a little bit of bookkeeping.
All right. Let's see. This is technically a question. What is this witchcraft?
I don't know.
Speaking of lists, how do you customize a sublist? Like you want the sublist item to be alphabetical or Roman?
Yeah, that one feels like very Remark. I guess maybe one thing I would say, sometimes you just sort of have, like when you're using Markdown, sometimes you have to let go of some of those very particular things that you want. And but you can always fall back to HTML.
You can do letters for sure. In your sublist, do A, just start A for all of them, and I'll make it A, B, C, D.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Roman, I think
it should do I's, like I's and I, V, V, I.
I think it does that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone asked him, based on what you said, I'm going to guess the answer. Can you make your code highlighting pink?
Can you make, okay, so code highlighting is handled through xaringan. Let me see if I have a, so there's inside of your, so xaringan Moonreader has a highlight style, and there's, so this uses highlight.js. It's a little bit tricky to figure out where all this stuff comes from, but there's an option here and that you can set, and you can pick a whole bunch of different themes. And this might be a good time to show there's a whole wiki page for xaringan that like helps you figure some of these things out that are more xaringan related. And then there's a whole remark wiki page for the remark library behind this. And somewhere in here, syntax highlighting, and there's this highlight language. But at some point, I just go to highlight.js, highlightjs.org, and you can pick all of these from the usage. I forget, somewhere in here, there's a demo where you can try all the different themes.
Nice.
There it is. So you can pick out from all of these. And it is not the easiest thing because you have to kind of guess what the name is that you're going to like plug into the other thing. But like, I don't know, you can, like, and then you just change that here, like grayscale. Yeah, otherwise you have to kind of write your own styles.
So when you change something in YAML, will the live slides update? Do you have to actually rebuild them if you change something that high level?
Yeah, you have to click save and then it'll re-render. Cool. Yeah, for like any of the, it's all the little stuff like when you're writing inside the slide, that will all kind of update live. Also, if you're, there's like a certain range of things you can do where it updates. And then there's a point where it's like, I can't quite figure this out. Just save and then it re-renders and then boom, you got your new slides. And definitely the part where you're switching between slides live. I think if I, like in this case, like where you, I don't think I have it running anymore, but yeah, when you switch between slides by just clicking around, like that is a lifesaver. That is pretty annoying to do otherwise.
Oh yeah, that's a very helpful thing. How did you get the bouncing arrow for the code? Like when you moved your mouse over the code, it had a little bouncing arrow.
So let's see, where did my xaringanExtra stuff? So that is, I have a little page, xaringanExtra. I have a little page here called, it's add extra CSS styles. And it's this hover code line is the one. But it's a small little thing. There are little things like that that I keep adding. Basically, if I do something for more than 2 presentations, it ends up in xaringanExtra because I don't want to have to remember how to do it again.
It's a nice way to do it. Then you have to remember that you put it in there already.
Yeah, right.
I was trying to figure out how I did something in R Markdown, and I was searching, and I found 2 different people reference solutions that I built that no longer work. That's how long ago I did it.
Oh no.
I solved it twice at one point, but I don't remember. Always the best.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Continuing on. Is there an easy way to hide slides you may not want to share? You want to share, but not present at this time.
Yes, absolutely. There is there's an easy way to do that. Let's say I decided I didn't like this one. I can put here at the start of the slide, exclude true. And when I'm done, that slide is gone.
Perfect.
So, yep. There's even like if you search the issues in the xaringan repo, GitHub repo, there's a really neat solution for a way that you can do this programmatically. But for right now, I'll just show you the easy way.
Yeah, I've done something like that. Like I set a global variable at top, and like then I did like an inline variable. All right. This one just came in. I'm going to ask it before I ask other ones because it's fresh here. Can you create a definition box for an academic presentation, like in Beamer?
Yeah, absolutely. You just have to write it yourself.
All right.
Pretty much.
I'm going to follow that one up. Is there like an algorithm style that you don't have to write yourself?
No, there is not. No.
Can we put in a feature?
I think. Yeah, I mean, those kinds of things are perfect for the xaringan page. There are built-in themes from xaringan package directly, and I have this feeling that one of them, I think the Higi, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, package or theme. So it's probably this one, this Higi, has like a whole bunch of cool things that you can add. That probably has something like that. That sounds really familiar.
So that would be, I've heard people ask for that. Max on your team asked about that. He's like, I want to be able to put an algorithm. That was more of a book down in general, more than even xaringan.
Right. And you can put, I didn't show it here, but you can get LaTeX or LaTeX math and code or math into your slides as well. I don't do that much anymore, but it's possible.
Speaking of like things you could put in here,
yes,
can you switch to font? What'd you say?
Well, I saw a whole bunch about embedding things in the slides.
Like, can you embed a dynamic plot in the slide, like a Plotly or a digraphs or a whatever?
Yes, absolutely. Things start to get a little weird sometimes. So the trick that I would offer there is there's a package called widget frame, and widget frame kind of takes your HTML widgets and like packages them up really nicely so that you get just like an iframe with just that thing, and that usually works really well. But and there's like certain things. Okay, so there's one weird thing that happens with xaringan that kind of messes things up sometimes, and it's really nice for presentations, but not so great for the HTML widgets. Which is okay. So I have this slide here. If I resize my viewing window for this slide, you can see like everything basically stays the same size. It just scales up and down, which is really nice that happens. And that's really cool, except that rescaling step breaks a lot of other JavaScript sometimes. Sometimes it breaks other JavaScript that's trying to figure out where the mouse is located. And so like sometimes tooltips aren't the greatest and other things. But I would kind of point out also, I have these slides, but I spend a lot of time jumping out into browser windows to like actually look at specific things. And I think that's a really nice flow in xaringan. And like if it doesn't fit in the slide, it's okay. Just like open up a browser window or like another tab and show it there. But
and more inserting, can you switch to fonts that are installed locally or not Google fonts?
Yes, sort of. Okay, so another little thing I kind of glossed over just a little bit is that ultimately, okay, well, on the one hand, you have your slides and you're just showing them to yourself, or like what I just did, I'm presenting them here to everybody. But then there's this next step of what happens after when you're going to deliver your slides and like put them online or make them available for other people to see. So if it's just for yourself, you can use fonts that you have installed locally. If you're like, I'm going to use my own computer to present this, and it just needs to work while I'm showing it, and then after that, I don't really care. Then you're cool. Then everything's fine. It'll all work locally. It should be fine. If you need it to work on the web, then you're entering the world of making it work on the web, and at that point, it becomes a whole different story. And honestly, like, you're best off using fonts that are already served by somebody else on the web. Google Fonts is a great place to do that, but there are lots of other places where you can find fonts. And I highly recommend, like, don't bother figuring it out. Just find someone who has the font online and go with that.
I have seen one time, and I recreated it once, to embed the fonts in a self-contained xaringan file. There is a way, it's doable, but I remember it was not trivial.
Yes, no, not so much fun.
Yeah.
You might as well print to PDF. That's another great way that you can do this.
We just had a question. Can you show how to print these slides to including this panel set options?
Yeah. Okay. So there's another package that's pretty new called, what was it called? It's called Xaringan Builder. And let me so, oh, here, I have a link to it right here. So Xaringan Builder. It's being put together. The whole idea is like, how do you go from a xaringan presentation to like a whole bunch of other stuff, making images, making PDFs, that kind of thing. And I highly recommend you check this out. I contributed a function to this. I wrote a function that would that handles panel set and like walks through each slide, printing each slide in every panel, and then at the end staples it all together and gives you back a PDF. And it actually works like really well. It's nice, but otherwise it's kind of printing a PDF can be difficult. The other thing you can do is, for best results, definitely open your slides in Chrome, print from Chrome. That will usually be the best. But I'm a big fan of Firefox, and printing doesn't work very well there.
This is now going to be self-serving. We have more questions, but this self-serving. People give us a lot of xaringan presentations. Please do it in self-contained. It's available now. There's an option now. It's super slick now. Were you one of the ones who worked on the self-contained option?
No, I kind of watched from a distance.
All I do is make feature requests after feature requests. I contributed nothing other than, no, that's not true. I did a lot of stress testing, and I did a horrible solution years ago that made UA want to cry. But everyone, if anyone's ever going to give me a slideshow, and this goes for if you go to conferences, use a self-contained option. This way it's a single file instead of here's a folder. Especially for us, we have to host these things at NYHackR. Single file works so much better, please. Folks, please, single file, self-contained equals true. I'm begging you. Yeah. Garrick, you already sent it to us. Send it to us again, self-contained. Because otherwise we have to print the PDF. Actually, your slideshow isn't so much a single slideshow, but otherwise we have to print a PDF, and that's not necessarily great. So self-contained, folks, please do it. That's my public service announcement, please. So let me get back to the questions. This is a little more like for an academic. What is the best way to include references in slides?
Yeah, that one's a little bit tricky. I don't. I've used like the CITR citer package. A couple other things. I've made my own hand-rolled solution. I feel like I've seen this mentioned in the Xaringan wiki somewhere. It's yeah, package citer. Yep, that's a good one. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've. That's one of those things that you eventually just like, I'll do it slightly differently, and then you just sort of cut. There it is. All right. So here, bibliography and I was looking for this, bibliography and citations. So there's a ref manager. I've used that too. That's really nice. Yeah.
All right, there you have it. And back to inserting, can you embed a LearnR in Xaringan?
Yeah, you can. I've seen it done. I don't remember the link at the moment. But yeah, you definitely can. You have to put it in iframe, and you have to do a little bit of work to like make things work in the iframe. Yeah, but so I work on that package too, and I would love to make it easier to put those kinds of things into slides.
That'd be really nice.
Yeah.
Continuing sort of on this theme, how about a logo on all slides?
Yeah, you can do that. That one I didn't show, but that's one of the extensions that you can actually get a little embedded logo on basically every slide, just like out of the box, like, hey, give me a logo on every slide, and that works. So that extension is called Logo. It's very creatively named.
You might need to update the documentation. I think some of your documentation for if you want to hide a logo, it's hide-logo, but it's actually hide_logo.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That tripped me up 2 days ago. So.
Oh yeah, it's hide underscore hide. I forget. I remember seeing that and thinking I solved it. So
hide underscore works, but you have a website somewhere where it says hide-logo. So yeah. I don't know. I'll try to find it again. I'll send it to you if I can find it again.
Oops. Yeah, I bet it's in here somewhere.
It was somewhere. I'm like, hey, this isn't working. Let me go back to my old code I had for 3 months ago. Oh, there it is. All right, that's what happened to me.
It's probably in the function documentation.
I think so.
Which is also PSA to everyone, like, don't write your own package down clone. Like, just use package down. I mean, I love this website, but I basically made it's pretty much like I have to manually update every little piece whenever I change things. So not the best.
Well, thank you for doing it so that we don't have to.
Yeah.
I'll continue onwards. Can Xaringan slides be parameterized like other Markdown documents?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And you totally can, yeah, you can totally use parameters in Xaringan. Cool. Can you, right? I feel like you can.
I think you can. I might have done it, but you have to be able to.
Yeah. Boy, but what if you can't? And I just said that. very convincingly, but I'm pretty sure you can. I really want to try it now. Let's see, is it going to work? It works.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's still yes. Okay, this all makes sense. It still uses our Markdown render, so you still use our Markdown render for everything. What happens though is the output format itself is what figures out how to like cut out pandoc from as the middleman, and that's what makes the difference. Yes. So you can totally do something like our Markdown render, pick out these slides, demo, intro, and then I could say params list thing equals goodbye. And this is not going to work as well as I think it's going to, is it? But it worked, and then I have to go find the demo intro, view in web browser. There it is. So
great. Parameters work. I love live testing them on the fly.
Yeah.
All right. The countdown timer, is that part of xaringanExtra?
No, that's a separate package called Countdown.
Countdown. All right.
Not on CRAN, but it's under my GitHub. Yeah.
And that's
at some point. Go ahead.
I was going to say, that's different than there's a timer that comes in the presenter notes automatically of xaringan, right?
Yes. Yeah. So if you push P in xaringan, you get these presenter notes, and it gives you a little timer. And there is also a timer built into xaringan itself, which you can have show on like the bottom of the slide, I think. Like it will show here, and like every time you change the slide, it resets, and so it would count down from like 30 or something. But the countdown package has the countdown package has it's like customizable. You click it to get it started, and if you can even make it play sounds, which is nice. Like at the end, it goes doodle doodle doodle.
Will that work in other Markdown documents, or is that just for xaringan?
No, that works everywhere. Yeah, that'll work in other places too.
Since we're on presenting notes, go ahead. Yeah, go please.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was moving on to the next question, so if you had follow-up, let's hear it.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. Then, are there any extras for presenter mode?
So for presenter mode, I have this one that like I spent a while working on this, and I was like very excited about it, called broadcast, which if you're, so you start out by like, you open up your slides. When you have broadcast installed in your slides, it gives you this. So you have, it adds a button to presenter mode called broadcast. And when you click it, it is supposed to give you an ID and like identify this particular browser. And then you can share that, it gives you a link, and you can share that link with other people. And whenever you change your slides, their slides change too. So they can look at it locally, but and then like advance with you. And you can move around, like anytime you change your slide, it'll jump to the slide that you just changed to. The problem is you need a middleman, and the middleman in this case is a library called peer.js. And the middleman, all it does is it just like, you know, you have two people and it says, okay, I'm gonna connect you. And then once you're connected, you're good. But that middleman server part is pretty flaky. And at some point I would love, I mean, if anyone wants to help, this would also be awesome. But I would love to set up a peer.js server that would handle all of that, and like I could run it, or some benevolent benefactor in the community could run it for me, and we could all connect our slides. Yeah.
I feel like a public benefit company would do that type of thing.
Yeah, you know, yeah, I think I know one of those people.
And then someone just mentioned, maybe you want to show people how to clone these. This way they can have like their speaker notes as separate from the presentation. Yeah,
so if you're, let's see, you press C to clone, and Firefox is going to yell at me. You probably won't see what happens next. I'm going to say allow, wait, what am I going to, I'm just going to do it again. Press, no, stop, let me out. how do I get, come on, just let me, okay. Anyway, the point is
Yeah,
once you finish fighting your browser, it will let you, it'll create another window. And then those two windows, it's just on your computer, will talk to each other. So you press C to clone. And then once you've cloned, then you, then on one of those, you pick one to like share with everyone else. And then you look at the other one and you can press P on the other one and see your presenter notes. I have, but I've also like doing this for large workshops and other things using xaringan. In the end, I usually show my own screen and don't, because it just ends up being too confusing. Like which one is the one that people are seeing, and it gets hard to debug quickly. So if you really want to.
I use the notes all the time. I'm always dedicated screen separate. That's, everyone has different things. Then there's a question.
Okay.
You sort of.
I have seen I saw a couple that kind of pull off of that, which is how do you, if you want to figure out like what things can you do, the question mark. So typing question mark will show you, this doesn't look so great. Let me find another one. Question mark here. That also doesn't look so great. Where is, all right, question mark. Here we go. So when you do question mark, it will show you a list of keyboard shortcuts that you can use. There's like a bunch of other things that you can do, like making your slides go backwards, which is hilarious. But okay, and then the other one, so that's a help menu. The other one is how do you get presenter notes? So if I want presenter notes for this slide about the banana, I'm going to say like this. You put, so instead of the 3 dashes to create a new slide, you're going to put 3 question marks, and now you're kind of like attaching presenter notes to this section of the slide. And I'll say this is a joke that most people know. Do you think they're right? And I'm in demo intro. Let's see. Okay, and then if I go to that slide and press P, those notes show up right here, which is pretty cool and pretty helpful. But again, if you're sharing your slides at the same time, if you're sharing the same screen that you're like presenting with, then that makes it that's kind of hard to do. So balances and trade-offs.
Yeah, that's why I like notes this way. I can have those funny jokes myself. Did they laugh at me or with me?
Yeah. But also, I guess it is a good thing to do. I should point out too that it's good to do for people who are going to look at your slides later. Like they can come through, they can hit P, read the slides, and as you like move through it, and then they can see what you're. Let's see what what you were going to say.
Nice.
Something like that.
Oh yeah, and like when you have an incremental slide, the notes show up incrementally also. That's a nice touch.
Yeah, except they like kind of stack on top of each other, which is what the content does as well. So the content stacks and the notes stack too. So I have the notes from the first part of the slide and then the notes from the second part. Yeah, and in general, it can be hard to get like a ton of stuff in here, but it's good for reminders.
A lot more space than I have slides that had almost no space.
Yeah.
All right, we'll have a few more. I know we've been going on for a while. Is there a way to make a saved template? Like you always keep doing the same exact stuff, so instead of copying and pasting, make a template for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I highly recommend doing that because ultimately you're going to want to write. So xaringanthemer can write out a CSV file or a CSS file for you, right? So like it creates a CSS file. You might want to like just carry that CSS file around instead of the actual code or something like that. And the best way of doing that is to create well, okay. So first you have to create a package, which sounds like a lot of work, but it's it doesn't have to be like earth shattering. And also you don't have to share it with anyone really. You can just put it on GitHub or share it with yourself. And then inside of that R package, you're going to create a template, an R Markdown template. And and then that way you can make that kind of happen. I was wanting, let's see, there's probably a thing in the like definitive R Markdown guide about templates, but that I don't have off the top of my head. Here we go. Here it is. Yep. So I'll share that with everybody. So that's actually how, for example, I made a template that is my, let's see, when I do new R Markdown document, that's how I have a template here called Ninja themed presentation, and that's how the xaringan template is shipped as well.
So usually, almost always answer is yes. Let me just wrap up those last few. Someone's having trouble getting code highlighting. You sort of went over this. So you might have just tell me you went over this. Can you show us customization options for code highlighting and how to do code highlighting when you're using a special theme? I guess that goes back to the whole, you know?
Yeah, let's see. So I think on second thought, I think what we're talking about is something that this might take a second. So somewhere in here, so you can, I don't know if I actually included it in this. So there's a way that xaringan gives you to, where to go, let's try this one. So let me find this in my slides. So here, and I'm gonna just scroll this over. Okay, so there's a way that you can highlight individual lines of code and kind of say like, okay, I want you to like focus on this right now. Like if I want to have a part of my slides that's saying, we're gonna focus on Gapminder. So I'm going to put a comment at the end and then 2 carrots, kind of like 2 little eyes looking in that direction. And when you save this, you'll get a line highlight. So the default is to make it like this bright yellow color. And then so in xaringanthemer, I think we can change this by saying, so all of these, it's nice time to show off that there's like a ton of different options here for xaringanthemer. So this is inside this like style function. And you can kind of like just look through all of these things and find what you're looking for. In this case, we want to change how code looks and we want to highlight it. So code highlight color is going to be the thing that we're looking for. And then at this point, then you have to pick something. And I'm just going to like guess at some RGBA, guess at some colors, like very red and not much else, but very low alpha. And when that updates, we'll jump back here. So there we go. We have a new line highlight color or code highlight color. Yeah.
Great. Hopefully that answered that person's question. The handwriting notations on code for some of the slides, is that done with Scribble?
No. So I have, yeah. So I often what I'll do is I'll take a screenshot of the slide, something like this. I'll take a screenshot of it, send it to the iPad, draw on it in like, what do I use? GoodNotes, something like that. And then send all of those drawings back and then put them in as background images. So that's the whole process. I cheat entirely, but so you can see it kind of like, here's the original and I can interact with it because it's actually code. And then here's the image. And you know, if it happens quickly enough, you don't even notice.
I like that.
But you can see I messed up I changed the slide number after I did that. So, oops. Yeah.
Brutal.
Right. That's the kind of little detail that I'm like, but I am not going to fix that.
No, I don't blame you. Have someone Photoshop it. No, that's fine. All right.
Right.
Can you publish xaringan slides to RStudio Connect?
Yeah, I think so.
You can.
Yeah, because like everything goes to Connect can handle anything.
Yeah, Connect's amazing. It's
right.
A great product. It really is.
Yeah.
Can you add an image inside a panel and have it cover the whole panel like a background size cover does?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And yeah, whoever asked that question basically sketched out the how you would do that too. So you would, we could, like, where did my thing go? Where's where's Doogie Howser? This guy. All right, hang on. And then, sorry, I have like keyboard shortcuts to do this. So this thing, what if I make, all right, I'm just gonna open this and a new thing and look at inspect element. And so I have this span right here, something like this. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. So I have this thing. I'm gonna give this, I'm gonna get rid of this image because I don't need it. And then I'm gonna get rid of all this stuff too. So I'm cheating to just jump straight. So I have this div. The div needs to have a height and a width. So I'm gonna make it like 400 pixels tall. And you can't see it, but there it is. And then background image is gonna be doogie.jpg. And you can see now I have a doogie there, and it's repeated, but I can do background size cover, and now I have just doogie, and I can kind of like, you can fiddle with this more and position.
Doesn't require CSS.
Yeah, it's gonna need some CSS. Well, like, that looks pretty cool. And then at this point, you copy this rule, go back to your slides, and drop it in. I'll call this like doogie, get rid of that stuff in the middle, and make a little, oops, echo equals false. Little doogie, and we're back.
Wonderful.
Just like that. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, that's the basic idea. Make a div, put a background image on the div, cover it, and it's just like a slide except it's smaller. But what is needed there is it needs to have a width and a height.
Nice.
To make that work.
You didn't put a width in there.
Oh, I did. I cheated because it's actually here in this class. Yeah, but you can also do width 30% like that, and come on back, Doogie. And there we go.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, then we'll call this the last one. I know we had a lot. Can Xaringan work as a Shiny document, as a regular app, or as like an HTML document that we could publish on shinyapps.io?
No. So that's where, yeah. What's that?
You can't do runtime Shiny?
No, I don't think. Yeah, I would be amazed if that worked, and I would love to hear about it, but I don't think so. Because the problem is like Xaringan, or so like underneath. So this is where you get into like that. It's not our markdown anymore. It like comes out as remark, and like some weird stuff happens in the browser. Basically, if you like try to look at this slide file, like if I find the actual HTML and open this in the editor, this kind of gives you a sense of what you're looking at. So you have like, there's a bunch of stuff that like sets up your slides and everything. And then you have this big text area, and you'll notice this is basically your mark, like what you wrote in R Markdown, but it's turned into like not R Mark, just regular Markdown. And then when you load this in the browser, Remark goes in, finds that text area, processes the Markdown, and turns it into actual slides. So like if Shiny somehow magically worked in there, I would be amazed.
Yeah, I think I agree that'd be tough. This isn't real Markdown. All right. And one more question came in. I'm going to let it slide in. It's not related to Xaringan. This is actually useful. The command palette shortcut, how do you get it to work in Firefox? Because that's the shortcut for incognito window.
Yeah. Control Shift P, and it comes up. So this is where I practice my my Windows keyboard shortcuts, because that's usually what it falls back to in the browser. But yeah, that like I do that all the time. I actually, before I presented just now, like practice bringing up the command palette a few times so that I had the muscle memory, because otherwise I always end up opening a new private window, and you're like, ah.
And then this is since you mentioned a keyboard, this is because the people want to know. They want to know about your keyboard switches on that clacky mechanical keyboard.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I just got into the world of mechanical keyboards. So I started out with a keychron, and
Right.
and I thought like, hey, that's so silly. Like, who wants like LED lights that change colors when you're typing? And it turns out I do very much. I love it.
Yep.
It's so nice. Yeah.
I just
But
got my
now I just
fourth.
need to find a good wrist rest because it's too high.
Go split keyboard. Get one of the ones like the split keyboard has a wrist rest built in. I just went split keyboard this week. Huge difference. Has a wrist rest built in, and the keys angle downward properly. It's a game changer.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I'm about to get bit by the bug, I think so.
Oh yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right. So, thank you very much. That was wonderful. You answered spent almost as much time on questions as you did on the presentation, maybe more. So thank you for that.
Oh,
Everyone,
thank you.
a big virtual round of applause in the chat window for Garrick. That was a fantastic talk. I'm doing a little golf clap for you. Hopefully that's loud enough for you. Sorry to have a real audience here. So everyone, the talk will be up on NYHackR within a few days. Remember, we have the April meetup. We have the May meetup. They'll be announced very shortly, coming up soon. And just everyone, thank you very much to Garrick. That was fantastic. I hope everyone had us a good night, and I'll see you all next month. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Garrick.